REC Experience presents Real Estate, Entrepreneurship, Leadership with your host, Jazz Takhar. The REC Experience podcast is now on air.
Hey, thanks for being in the REC Experience. I'm your host, Jazz Takhar, with your girl, Laura Elto Stewart.
Jazz, hello.
With the mic's on.
With the mics on, here we go.
I'm very excited today. Well, because we're doing a live podcast after, 4 months, 5 months.
Yeah.
You and I have been kind of doing the Zoom thing, even in the studio.
But other human beings.
Other
they
human
exist.
beings
they
with
exist.
us. Our viewers can see it. Our listeners, obviously, if you're taking your dog for a walk in the car or on the treadmill, you cannot see our two handsome brothers at that as well.
Don't make me pick. Don't make me pick the more handsome one.
Tom and Nick.
Keep going, guys. Keep going. That's all right. That's a great
Tom
start.
and Nick.
That's it for the compliments.
I love it. That's it. We're going to stop it right there. From Rockstar Real Estate. I don't want to mispronounce the last name, so why don't you guys say your last name?
Karadza. Croatian last name. Croatian father, Scottish mother. They met in Canada. We're proud Canadians.
L'Oreal, right on Lakeshore Road.
You and I were talking off air just before the boys came in, and I was telling you why I was so excited to have the brothers here, Tom and Nick. Because as I've been watching them from afar now for a while, like Rockstar Real Estate is not a small name, right? And we're going to talk all about the investing side of it, the courses, the classes, the team, the all of that. But the fact that they push out so much content. And us doing 20 pieces of content daily, it was so nice and refreshing to see.
Fellow content creators. But from an educational perspective, leading with education, it's so refreshing, not only like from a macro perspective in the sales industry, but obviously in real estate, our industry, where it's not the regular buy now, buy 16, and if you don't buy it right now, and you're never going to get on this bus. It's like you guys have been really putting a lot of thought into your content, and so I really appreciate that. And so kudos and congratulations to you guys, man.
I'm just happy that someone sees this, and that's one. Now we know there's
not just your mom and dad.
Yeah. That's how it started, for sure. Our first email that we ever sent out, remember, it was seven people.
And one was a fake address that was our
How long ago? So how long ago did you start in real estate? And then we'll get into the content. Sorry.
So real estate investing.
Yeah.
So we started investing before we were realtors.
Okay.
So about 20 years ago, I started investing.
All right.
I bought my first house. Didn't know any better. Tom bought a house too. Did two different things. Then we kind of came together, started doing some investing ourselves. And then shortly thereafter, I got my license. I was the first one to get my license only because I think I was younger, and I probably didn't have a job yet at that point. You did, but I thought the license was the key to everything. I'm like, oh my god, when I get my real estate license, I'm going to get the secret access to the MLS system, and that's going to give me all the best deals.
And we got it to bypass realtors because we're like realtors.
Oh
no.
yeah.
Not dealing with realtors.
Bad first experience.
Now we own a brokerage. I mean, it's all gone backwards. It's backfired on us.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway, keep going.
No, that was it. End of story. Told you.
20 years. No, 20 years. And then the brokerage 13 years ago, Rockstar Real Estate, 12 years ago.
So why the brokerage though? Like why? And is Rockstar Real Estate on its own? It's independent?
It's an independent brokerage. The reason the brokerage, we got our licenses, we started in another brokerage in Oakville that we won't name that didn't like us because we worked with investors. Okay. They said, you guys are going to fail. Nobody works with investors. It's too hard.
You're at a list to last.
List to last. And we're like, we don't like listing. We just want to buy.
We've heard that before.
We want to buy properties. And then that brokerage went bankrupt on us with no notice. So we rented a U-Haul truck.
Okay.
You know how we found out? We were in the brokerage early one morning because no one else worked there. It was just us doing deals. Somebody starts banging on the door. And it was the guys to repossess the Xerox machine. They ran in, they grabbed the Xerox machine, they started wheeling it out, and we're like, what's going on? And they're like, this place is going down.
We're like, we were getting out of here anyway.
Yeah, so we rented a U-Haul truck that day, drove into Burlington, signed a lease at like an executive suites place.
Okay.
Moved our license to a brokerage, like a discount broker, brokerage across the highway.
We were already
I'm sorry, just you two at this point? No,
we had like
admin, probably?
Yeah, I had admin and one other people.
Okay,
so two other, something like that. Yeah, okay. I forget at what point that was.
Yeah.
Okay, but why Rockstar?
Okay,
because that name is such a good name.
So this
can you guys sing?
No.
Or play instruments?
No.
So you're not rock stars?
No. We can drink a lot of tequila. Does that count as like a rock star?
You party like a rock star.
You party like a rock star.
Yeah, we used to party like a rock star. Now I party like an 80-year-old that wants to sit at home.
Look, the Rockstar thing came from, we both were like, what are we going to name this thing? So we both got a list. We wrote down lists and of just all these random names. And one of the ones, it was actually one that Tom wrote down. I don't like giving him credit, but I will. He wrote it down and we said, could you imagine we actually called it Rockstar? That would be crazy. Like, why?
Because we were going to call it like high net worth realty.
Yeah. Cash flow.
Go with the boring. I get it.
Yeah. And then one day, I'll never forget, I was driving, we live in Oakville, driving to the Burlington office, along the QEW, Tom calls, he's like, Nick, I got it. You don't invest in real estate to be the landlord. You don't want to fix leaky toilets and stuff. You invest to live your life on your terms, which is your rockstar life. And that's what we're going to call it rockstar real estate, because you're investing in real estate to live your rockstar life, your terms. And I'm like, holy crap, man, you're smarter than you look. That's brilliant. We got it. And let's do it.
We're going to jump a little bit. And because we were talking about investing, what has it afforded you guys? Like, what has the ability to invest and how you the vehicle of real estate, what has it afforded you guys?
I don't think we realized initially that real estate was a cheat in the financial system.
Okay.
That if you owned property, the financial system was set up to reward you more than earning an income. So we bought real estate initially because we read all those courses, those books, Multiple Streams of Income. I don't know if I'm dating myself, Robert Allen and all these books.
Yeah.
And
No Money Down.
No
and
money
all that
down.
kind of stuff.
And it always told you to buy real estate.
For sure.
So we understood cash flow, building equity. So we thought it was a good thing from the principles of real estate, but we didn't understand that assets in today's monetary system grow in value much faster than incomes. So the real estate has afforded us everything, not only our personal kind of net worth or financial ability, but then also building a business around those things. It helps the business as well. Properties are inflation adjusted, so just like you guys, commissions go up along with the property values. So our income is kind of protected in real estate. So the real estate itself is great. Working in the real estate industry is great. So it's given us our whole lives. For 10 years, we've gone to Croatia every summer for about a month.
You guys
with
do a
our
lot
families.
of videos when you're there and you show it. I've seen that. I love it. I love
so
it.
we've been able to take a month off every summer, go to Europe, travel the world a bit with our kids.
Living your rock star life.
Yeah, living life on our terms. So it's really given us everything.
And that's full circle.
And then helping
clients.
clients, I'm sure like you guys, helping other Canadians buy real estate who are scared to get into it, seeing them succeed in real estate and build up their portfolios. That's completely satisfying.
I love that you said that, as people and investors, and we see it all the time, they're scared. And what we like to say a lot is everyone was scared till they do it. How do you guys help people get over that hump, that obstacle, to get them to take that leap of faith?
I think it's the education.
Yeah.
To your point, that we just try
Mitigates risk, eh?
We don't make the decision for them. We're like, look, guys, we're just going to explain to you what we've seen and what we've seen other people do, and like current day stuff, not like what we've seen 20 years ago. This is how this some no money down thing works. It's a whole different world. And then if you educate people enough, the people that really want to do it, they're going to move forward anyways. So it doesn't have to be this like. There's no hard sell or trying to really convince people like you really need to be doing this. It's just like, look, here's what we've seen. Here's the track record over this period of time. Maybe you want to do it if you have the information, maybe you don't. So that's kind of, it's almost selfishly that we lead with so much education, even from the clients we work with. We have all these classes we give and stuff, is because it just makes it their decision. It doesn't make it us having to sell them.
I love that you said that, because Laura, what was it, 9-10 months ago, almost a year ago now, actually, September already, of the time of this recording, you took your first
I did
action step in
scared
investing.
shitless a little
awesome.
bit. Yeah.
Awesome.
I own my house, but I've been working with real investors here for 3 years, and I'd been helping people purchase, and they would ask me, well, were you nervous when you first bought yours? And I would kind of say, I haven't really done it. So to advise people on doing something, even though I had the same education, it wasn't until I took that next step myself that now I can really speak to them from the emotional point of view, like what it feels like to take that next step and write those checks out and like all your hard-earned money. But then you see how it grows and compounds, and you're right. I mean, I've made more money just off that alone than certainly anything I would have done otherwise. So it's been great.
And tax-free.
Well,
That's always
so
nice.
far, yeah.
Right? Like the legal way not to pay tax,
exactly.
Right? Our podcast really circles around entrepreneurs and real estate investors and people, guys and gals in leadership roles are looking into getting into leadership roles. Another cool thing with you guys is that you're real estate investors, but you're also entrepreneurs. Do you guys see a lot of crossover between the two?
Like totally, yeah, for sure.
100%.
And probably like personally in your lives, it was a lot of maybe fear, like just not being able to take action. Like elaborate on that a little bit for me, man.
I think, like real estate, when you get into business, when I quit I was in the corporate world.
Okay.
My wife was at home, 2 kids, mortgage on the house, quit my job to start working with Nick to build Rockstar Real Estate. Second month in, we lost on 9 deals in a row that we were working with investors.
Okay.
And we looked at each other saying, like if we don't make some money soon, this is gonna fail.
We're gonna be like the other company.
It's a problem.
Yeah. So
we didn't have a good photocopier, so that
yeah. We were like carbon
we bootstrapped.
paper.
We bootstrapped hard, man.
Yeah. All the money, for years went back into the business. I think people, when you work with investors, people were looking at us like, hey, you guys have owned real estate quite some time now.
Right.
Now you're working with investors. You guys must be rich.
Yes.
And they didn't realize at one point, Nick and I were sharing a car. Because I had the nice Acura, he had the Honda Civic.
Yeah.
So when we were taking investors out, we would say, hey, he would call me at one point saying, Tom, bring the Acura to the office because I got to take somebody on the road to make a deal. I don't want to go out in the Honda Civic.
Yeah.
I would drop off the Acura. And one guy, I'll never forget, I took the same guy out like that weekend and he got in my car. He's like, you guys are so nice. You're brothers and you drive the same car.
Same color. And
Exact same cars.
Oh, yeah,
They thought we had
yeah.
2 cars exactly the same, but it was us sharing one car. So
that's
in
so
business,
good.
when you're starting, we didn't realize how much of the money just pours back in to build the business.
Right,
Like you're
right.
feeding this thing.
Yes.
So you're facing a fear like real estate. You're facing fears every day, and it's an endless journey. Like it still hasn't stopped for us. Like 12 years later.
You guys know you deal with challenges every day, right? You
100%.
never go.
Firefighters more than anything
Yeah.
else.
Oh,
And
yeah.
like we know who the real heroes are, which are firefighters. And I'm not saying that's who we are, but we're always putting out fires here, right? In
Anytime-
client service business.
Problems nonstop.
Anytime something goes smooth for too long, we look at each other like,
paranoid.
holy crap,
It's
man.
coming. Some race for
this
it,
is gonna
race
be,
for
This is
it.
going to be bad, man, because
Yeah.
it's been a while. So
Yeah,
it's
like
gonna
if
be a
it's 2
nasty
weeks
one.
where everything's kind of going good, we're just like literally, holy shit. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear or not
yeah,
on here.
yeah,
Like, there's
man,
holy
don't worry.
shit.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell is going to happen right now, So we're bracing for
So
it.
you guys are brothers. We were speaking earlier before we started our recording today about, just sibling rivalry and all that. How does this work between you two? Because being partners having a partnership and being partners in business is hard enough, let alone being partners in business and then of course your family
It's
and
a
your
family
relationship.
business, man. It's a family
How did you
business.
sort that all out? Do you
There's been
divide roles or?
There's been there's been a couple blow-ups, but you know what? One thing we're both good at. So a couple things. One is neither one of us holds grudges, right? So we'll have a blow-up, and then it's like literally 5 minutes later, we're like, okay, well, what are we gonna do about it?
Like, come on, dude.
like it's done.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
it's literally done. Like it's never been more than a 30-minute thing, right? So
Right.
And then we have different skill sets. Like Tom is the kind of like the pie in the sky, big thinker type thing.
Okay.
I'm like the operational guy. So like right away, if he'll talk about something, I'm like, well. How are we gonna get that done? Like, are you crazy? So we just kind of have different skill sets, and we respect one another's skill sets. So it kind of works out that way.
It's almost like a
You know what I
football
mean?
team, right? Like a successful football
Yeah.
team. Anyways, you got the head coach, but really it's the offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator that allows, I feel, to the team to win championships because you have somebody thinking about the offense, but you also have somebody thinking about the defense. And when you said operationals, I always put that in the defense, and defense also wins championships, but you need to go score points, right? And so it seems like that's the dynamic that you two
Yeah, and I
have.
like to spend money a little bit more
Yeah, I
than he
love
does,
that.
so I will
Yeah.
spend the money,
Yeah.
and
Hence
then
the
he'll
Acura,
save the money.
hence the
Yeah.
Honda.
No, now he's driving a BMW. But you know what? To his testament, he would be equally as happy in a Honda Civic. So
Yes.
would I. I loved my Honda Civic.
Yeah.
Like, that kind of stuff for us doesn't matter. In life, we want the experiences. We
Yeah.
don't
Right.
care about the car.
Well, obviously,
like,
to your
Fancy stuff.
point about going away for a month out of
Yeah.
the year and making sure that that's scheduled. I mean, that's awesome.
that's been huge in our lives. Yeah,
That's been nice.
And
yeah.
the other thing about working together is because it's a family business, we don't have to worry about money. Because we know it's a family business, we trust
we
each
school each
other.
other. Yes.
Yeah, like it's just family, and I don't know if that was our parents' upbringing or whatever. It's just we're family. We have to have each other's back. So even if I know I'm right, sometimes because we're family, I have to give them one. You know what I mean? So I just stand down and I'm like, okay,
You're like, here, little brother of mine.
I'm
I'll,
like, okay,
I'll
you
give
know
you
what?
this
I'm
one.
right, but yeah, you take it. You take it. Man.
My guess is that's how you say it too.
I
Yeah,
feel
yeah,
bad
yeah.
for the elderly people in our family, so I treat him. I give him those ones too.
yeah,
But
yeah.
you gotta respect your
Yeah,
elders,
yeah.
man. You gotta respect your
He's gonna have
elders.
his little senior citizens card soon, I think. So I mean,
Going back to investors,
what's some of the biggest mistakes you guys see investors make? Like, I mean, the newbies and the veterans at it as well. Like, because you guys have been at this for such a long time, and personally, you investing as well into properties. What's some of those mistakes? I mean, obviously, not taking action is one, but other than that,
there's so many. To me, it's they worry about everything, right? They get emotional right away and worry about things before they happen. So this year's a perfect example. So COVID hits, right? How many investors went into pure panic mode? I'm like, guys, like it's been 2 days.
90% of them did.
Yeah. So like, let's just wait even a couple weeks, a month. Like your life isn't going to change that much in a month. Just wait a little bit of time, get a lay of the land, and then decide how you navigate things forward. Because if you start just reacting emotionally to everything, you can quickly make some pretty bad decisions, right? So I think that's one that I see kind of consistently over and over again is people just jump to conclusions. They read one headline someplace, they jump to conclusions.
More headline readers than anything.
And another one is they think the worst case scenario, but then they don't map it out and plan for it. So for example, everybody thinks their tenant is going to damage their property or leave them with a vacancy. So I'm like, let's write out all your concerns on paper. Okay. And then next to every concern, let's write out how we would overcome that. So if you think the property is going to be completely damaged, can we get insurance to cover you for that? And the answer is yes. If you are concerned about vacancies, can we get insurance to cover you for vacancies? And now you can buy this kind of stuff. So we can kind of pick off these scenarios, and now it's not just in your head creating an emotional response. It's very logical, and we can map these things out and eliminate them. And the other thing is, a lot of investors feel they can't invest until they have 100% of the information.
There you go.
And we're like, listen, you're going to get about 80% of the information you need on a condo project, on an area of Toronto that you're going to invest in. Surround yourself with good people, and that last 20%, you have to make the leap. If you have a good team around you, so if you have people like you guys around you supporting you, you're going to be okay.
Otherwise, paralysis by analysis,
you're
right?
just never going to get there.
That's why we have this sign up here, right? I mean, we're not saying don't aim. People call me out on it all the time. They're like, you're just like, go fire. I'm like, no. You need to aim, but it's just like, you don't always have to get stuck in aiming. Like, you got to pull the trigger, and then you'll figure out the...
Totally.
Yeah, see where it hits first, and then you adjust to hit the bullseye after. Exactly what you're saying. Exactly.
And part of that for investors, we tell everyone money isn't made in real estate by timing the market.
Yes.
Money is made in real estate by time in the market. And we didn't make this up, right? I don't know what book I read. It's somewhere I read this thing.
I say it all the time.
I say it because Jazz said it, so I don't know.
So I didn't know you said it.
So I did make it up, guys. I'm just
so I didn't know. I read Jazz's book, and
we all know. Now we all know
for using the term. Probably there's a copyright somewhere.
But everyone we've met, that's how you've made money in real estate. Right. Time in the market. So stop trying to pick the timing the market. Just get in and survive.
Do you guys find that people are just impatient? Like,
like
how do I get the get rich quick scheme? You know, like.
We laugh. We could sell, we could sell, the secret code on your remote control that'll make money spit out of your TV easier than we can sell what to really do in real life. Because people are looking for that. Like that's all they want. Or it's like, hey guys, what's like the best property? Like what's the best area where I can get and the best property I can get in that area? I'm like, well. How do you answer that? It's like if I asked you right now, what's the best condo development and what unit in that is the absolute best unit in that building that I can buy? Can you go find that one for me?
5 years.
Yeah. You're like,
I want like some pocket listing, like secret deal. What do you guys have? That doesn't exist.
Yeah, for sure. Now, what strategies do you guys implement yourself personally as investors and like in terms of BRRRR strategies, buy and hold, assignments? I mean, there's such an array of it. And then what do you help mostly with investors with what strategies?
It's all usually in some way, shape, or form. It's like a buy and hold, right? So, but there is BRRRR. Like I the first BRRRR thing I did before it was BRRRR. It was when you just really renovate, like refinance the properties. Took your money. So like 20 years ago,
when I first heard BRRRR in real estate, I really thought it was like someone cold or something. Like I didn't even understand what the strategy was.
And if you only do it once, is it like BRRRR?
It's like a mini BRRRR.
Yeah, a mini BRRRR. I like that.
So I mean that was a student property, in Hamilton.
Okay.
Did that a long time ago. Still have student properties. We do rent-to-own properties, single-family rentals, like
duplexes.
Secondary suites and stuff.
Yeah.
Condo. Just the same types of things with condos.
Man.
We generally, I'm selfish. Okay, maybe I am. Maybe I'm like that. I'll admit it. I like to buy properties and hold on to them. I like to keep them. I don't want to sell them. I sold my first property that I sold was a flip. The property I flipped the property. I bought it at that way back then. It was 158. Sold it for 209. The place sold, I think 4 years ago now, sold for $549 or something. It's in Mississauga in Port Credit.
Okay.
And very quickly after I sold that, I'm like, why did I sell this? Like, so as much as I can, we both, I think, agree. We like to own assets in our lives, and we just want more assets, not less. So everything is in some way, shape, or form, or the majority of things is some way, shape, or form, buying it and holding it for a longer period of time.
Some clients are fixing stuff up and will
clients,
flip it
I'm
and
talking
stuff
about
like
us.
that.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
sorry, for us. Yeah.
Yeah,
From
some
your client's perspective,
they're
you'll
doing
see some
some are
flips.
doing custom home development, some
yeah.
are doing flips.
So at this
Yeah,
point,
yeah.
it's pretty much everything.
And have
right?
you guys had to get creative in order to continue to build your portfolio? Did you joint ventures and get in other partners
We
involved?
generally
or-
don't like humans.
Okay.
So we don't like joint venturing. I think it's
They're
laziness.
starting to like each other.
Yeah.
You can tell.
We don't like dealing with other people when it comes to
The
business.
best
so-
realtors, right?
Yeah. So we have properties between us, and we have done joint ventures. To be fair, it's just not a big strategy of ours. We'd rather wait, save up some more, or
Yeah.
figure out how we're going to do it ourselves.
And we could, like, there's opportunity, like you guys, right? There's a ton of people who will joint venture with you guys in a heartbeat.
For sure.
But some investors jump into bed with every investor to joint venture just to expand their portfolio. For me personally, I'm like, I'd rather a larger percentage of whatever it is I'm going to get. And each one of those people to me is a business partner. And I don't want to get in business with every single person that, I have an opportunity to get in business with. There's certain people that I want to do business with. And that's why we just haven't really taken that approach.
That's kind of mitigating those risks that we talked about before, right? Like writing it down, what could happen if you don't have a strategy of an exit plan or what's the plan, how we're going to move forward. I mean, those things can take a turn.
Yeah, some of our clients have done tons of joint ventures and successfully.
Yes.
Just whatever reason, it's not our thing. But part of the challenge part of the reason we started Rockstar was running out of money. Like we ran out of money to buy properties. Then we looked at each other and we thought, we have these real estate licenses.
Right.
Why don't we use these licenses to help other people? We'll get the commission and we can save that commission to buy more property. So the
but how do you
business
get-
was born out of a lack of funds.
necessity.
Yeah.
Well,
to
I
buy
love
more.
that you took action to do that, but then how do you get around like financing on these properties? Like, so once you get to a certain amount, I know because guys and gals that are listening right now, some of their portfolio consists of 8-9 properties, but now they run into that wall of being able to get financing for more. How do you guys advise investors around that?
It's the same challenge that I'm sure you guys do. It's good mortgage brokers and good bankers, and you get different answers from the banks after your net worth changes. For example, Royal Bank told us at one point that they would lend us would be 6 properties.
Okay.
They swore by this. It's 6 properties. It's 6 properties. A couple years ago, maybe more, 3 or 4 years ago, we went to Royal Bank. We gave them our financials, and they're like, "Oh, you know what? We'll lend to you guys on another 3 proproperties." And we're like, "Whoa! You guys hated us. You
And
told us
and we
6
told
properties.
everybody else that it was
And we
only
were
6
repeating this,
properties.
6
Everyone's
properties, 6
walking around now because
we've
you
come
guys.
so over the years, we've
6
learned
properties.
that you have to hustle this hard.
I love
you
that.
need good mortgage brokers. You need good bankers. Sometimes we've also learned that some banks in Canada will be a little more aggressive at times of the year,
Right.
at times of the month. So you just need good bankers and mortgage brokers through connections like you guys that will have those contacts. But we haven't had any magical here's the mystery way.
So it's just a no is not a no
A
forever.
no,
It's
a
a
no
no
is
today.
not a no. Like we
Let's
didn't
go
know
back.
about monoline lenders,
Right.
and monoline lenders are lenders you can only get access through to mortgage brokers. At first, we didn't know that. We thought if TD told us no, then every bank would tell us no.
When I started investing, I purposely went to TD thinking I'm going to be this real estate investor. I'm going to have this relationship with the bank. Got my first mortgage through there. Went for the second one, and I sat down with one of those personal bankers. They're like, you know what, we can't do this, but we have a mortgage broker that does stuff through here, through our branch. So if you go to them, they'll be able to do it. And that was the first time when I was exposed to this mortgage broker world. I'm like, well, why the hell can these mortgage brokers do it? You can't do it at the bank.
Isn't it coming from you anyways?
Yeah.
You're probably thinking, yeah.
So ever since then, I just never turned back, and it also helps a lot to keep qualifying if your portfolio is positive cash flow.
Right,
makes a big difference, right? Because then the banks will look at it. Some banks, like CIBC, for an example, will look at your portfolio as a whole, and if the income debt ratio is 1.1, they can continue to lend to you with other circumstances, provided other things are in place as well. But if your debt ratio is not, then you're going to be much further limited than if it is, right? So there's those things as well.
Yeah, that one's a good example because for years we didn't know CIBC had a program where if you already owned 3
It
properties
was on your I think it was your fourth.
You had to own 3 income properties, then your
Something like that,
4th property and 4 more beyond that.
Right.
You could have no income. As long as you had the down payment, they would qualify
Is that
for
still
you.
available
And
now?
the
That's
debt
still
ratio.
available, but the
Interesting.
debt ratio has to be it has to
It's
be right.
1.1 to 1. I think, I don't know, don't quote me on it.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
used to
yeah,
be.
yeah.
And then they changed it a little bit. You needed more liquid assets than you did before.
Correct.
Because
Okay,
now
yeah.
you need, I think, $1 million of liquid assets. But then you couldn't use your RSP at one point. Then
Yeah.
you could use your RSP at one point. So, Lawrence, what you were saying is no, like 1 month it could be no, and the next month it could
Keep
be like,
shopping.
actually we changed it.
Keep
Yeah.
You can do it now,
shopping.
right?
And that
So-
CIBC program, very few people know about it. They don't advertise it too well. So it's something you just kind of discover through meeting the right people, right?
It's why we bring guys like you on, because I personally didn't know it myself either, and I've been doing this for 15 years.
Yeah, that
and
one's
so-
huge. That
right?
one's huge.
Just for everybody that's listening, just having new people come on board to the podcast, it's what we're able to do, right? To bring new people on.
Well, that's why we're glad to be back in
Love it.
studio.
We're finally back in studio. You guys were joking about not liking people and all that, but now you're at 50 realtors plus. Exactly how much in total?
We don't know. I
We
think it
actually
is
don't
50
monitor it.
something.
Yeah. We don't
He signed up
recruit.
someone else the other day. It seems like a good guy.
We had someone start at our office who was at another brokerage in the past, like a Min, like an office in Min, and she was. I told her we don't recruit. She's like, "What? I thought that's like what you're the broker of record. Officially, someone has to be, so I am." By default.
yeah.
So you're like, that's what you're supposed to do, and I'm like, what? I'm like, no, I've never made a recruiting call ever. So we don't actually monitor. Like, we don't know the exact number.
So what made you start growing that though then? Was that just
Just-
a necessity to
Yeah,
show showings? Like,
Sorry?
Go ahead.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
a little bit of our own clients saying, hey, just like you guys, I figured I should go get my real estate license.
okay.
Right? And some of them went in full time. They said, we know you guys. We love you guys. We can't see joining anyone else except for you guys.
We want to learn from you.
Yeah, and so then we would explain, hey, look, we're not a business set up with processes to bring you on and kind of ramp you up. We're very entrepreneurial. So you can plug your real estate license in here, but you're kind of on your own. So we'll help you out. We will always have your back. You screw up, we got your back. You call us anytime you need anything.
Right.
But the day-to-day learning.
But I love that you guys set the stage like that. Not to cut you off, like I love that you set the stage up front. Don't expect too much like
Don't
business
expect
growth.
anything.
Well, I didn't want to say that. I was letting you say
Don't
that.
expect anything.
Early on, the way we did it, actually, when we were more available. We'll still do it with people today. We'll kind of do one-on-one coaching with them, right? But
Okay.
they really
We
have
will.
to drive that. So
Yeah.
like we've helped people build some pretty decent sized
Yeah.
businesses within the brokerage, and we've guided them along the way to the point. Like I've written ads for people.
Yeah,
that
and
does
some
stuff.
people on our team do have their own team now,
Okay.
and they're running.
I like that.
So Rockstar is basically like one big team, but we do now have a few people who are independent teams under the Rockstar banner, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
for sure.
So that is happening at Rockstar.
And
Yeah,
those
for
were the
sure.
early adopters. It's harder for us to spend as much time now with those guys, with people coming on, as it was in the past.
Well, it's so interesting.
Right?
It sounds like no one was really holding your hand along your journey, and now you're kind of teaching that in others as well. Like if you want this, you got to be hungry, and you got to go out and seek the right people, but you got to force those questions and get the answers
Totally.
you're
And
looking for.
what's
No one's
kinda-
going to hand it over to
and,
you.
And what's exciting to see from you guys is that we tell everyone the marketing is way more important than actually the real estate knowledge should be good to begin. That
Right.
should be your minimum barrier to entry
Yes,
in this
for sure.
business. But after that, it's the marketing. So understand how the marketing works, and you're going to have a great time in this business. So Jazz, seeing what you've done here and the way you guys are interacting.
And you don't mean
like,
marketing like business cards for
No,
our
no,
listeners.
no,
We're
no,
not
no
talking
business
business
cards,
cards.
What do you
no.
mean by
marketing.
marketing? Let's expand on that. I mean, Laura's background, she has an MBA in marketing as well. And so she loves, I mean, that's why we have her here. It's actually the only reason we have her here. Is because
It wasn't for her singing. We know
Not
that.
at all.
Oh, well, that we know.
No, oh, for sure. Talk a little bit about branding and marketing and what it's done for your business.
I think we look at branding as a byproduct of good marketing. So we never started like putting Rockstar out there as a brand. We had some brand marketing managers come to us and say, you guys have a great name. Let's
Yeah.
build a brand out of this. And we're like, no.
Yeah.
We're a small business. We need to measure everything. So we started with direct response marketing.
Okay.
Let's put out something into the market. Let's get somebody to raise their hand showing interest. And let's build our database of people who are interested in working with us. So we started offering education. Here's some classes. Here's some reports. Here's some books. And we would put that out onto the market through different advertising. We started with newspapers. Jazz, that's how old we are. Yeah. Okay. We started with newspapers.
Yeah.
Well, I am. But then we're online now. But it was
let the little
making,
brother
it was
say
trying
it.
to offer some good value. And then over time, developing a relationship with people.
Right.
And then ultimately saying, hey, if you want to work with us, then here's where we are. Here's where you can find us.
Yeah,
so
we
it was
were-
this long-term approach to marketing,
Yes.
not like, hey, buy a property from us today.
When we
Right.
started doing a lot of stuff online, we got, at the time, a lot of the different marketing things we were looking at conferences we were going to, there was always like, here's how you kind of hack page one in Google, here's how you do this, and it always had to change, right? And we just found that if we put out good content, we ended up getting decent results.
Yes.
It's not that we were like astronomical,
Right,
but they were
right.
decent results.
Yeah.
Right? We were getting traction. There was a little bit of a long period. It took some time to get the traction, and then eventually the same kind of pretty big marketers that we know now, they've kind of come full circle and be like, you know what? It's about content and providing good content. You know, the world now is all about content. So we just luckily we were, not that we were smart, we just luckily started doing that early on, and it helped us.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, we always say here, it takes years to be an overnight success, right? People only see now, like, oh, you guys just put out some content and now you're this, that, and the other. You build this huge business, but you're like, but we were doing this right from the get, which was a couple decades ago. Right?
And it's a competitive advantage because no one else is going to do the work that you guys do.
I think consistency is, they don't, that's what you guys do. I mean, I know we're going back and forth and there's a massive love affair here, but the truth of the matter is you guys put in the friggin' work. Like, putting out videos all the time is not as easy as people think it is. There's post-production you guys do to it. The podcast, for all my listeners here, make sure, podcast name is
Your Life, Your Term Show.
Okay, like, make sure to go check that out, Clem. Make sure we put this in the descriptions and everything. I mean, I've heard episodes that you guys have done, and that takes a lot of effort, man, just putting it out there, right?
You know, it's no different than what you guys are doing. I mean, you get it, right?
But I think
because you go through it, you get it.
Yes. Well, a lot of people think, that time that you spend doing a podcast or putting out content, you could be working on your business. But what they're not realizing is that content that you're going to put out is going to get you business for years to come.
I think that is like one of the most important
Huge
things
advice.
that people miss a lot of the time, especially in real. I mean, I'll knock realtors a little bit because it's our industry, but everyone's in there for the short-term hit, or not everyone, but a lot of people, right?
Yes.
And it's not just realtors. Every business is like, well, if I do this, how am I going to make money today? Whereas what you just said is you're investing in your future bank, and it's so valuable. And that's what so many people miss is you got to do stuff. Look, we all need money today. We got to go to the grocery store and buy food, right?
Yeah.
And toilet paper just in case we run out again, right? We got to do that in case there's lockdown, and we kind of.
So now I know where to go. I know where to go.
I'm loaded with toilet paper.
Tom
You
says
guys
he
need
has
some?
it.
You got to do the stuff to invest in your future bank, because that's where the future business is going to come from, and that's how you grow a business, because then you're just not day to day trying to do the one thing. So
you
I think
can't
that's
always
a
be
huge point.
focusing on the low hanging fruit, right?
100%.
You
It
got
was
to make
one
it
of our
long-term.
first mentors. When he broke it down like that, he said, every day you must work on what Nick said. Now income and future income. And if a day goes by and you're not doing something to earn future income, which would be a blog post, a podcast, whatever it is, at some point you're going to be desperate for money. So you cannot let a day go by without doing both. And that really hit us hard.
And it's not super exciting. You guys know. So there's some days where you're like, man, I don't really want to sit at this table and have this conversation.
Yeah, I think, and people think it has like a certain cachet about it, right? Oh, it's
so
so fun. You guys just sit there and talk and do podcasts. But like, there's, we were talking about there being fires that we're always putting out all the time. Like, I know that when I leave this, my inbox is going to be flooded with emails that now I'm going to have to get to, and it might be later in the day versus doing it now. But at the end of the day, like, this is what we all signed up for, as well.
I mean, I was listening to, like, just yesterday, I was listening to Jeff Bezos doing an interview, and somebody was asking about, like, what's your thought process about 2020 and where is Amazon heading? He's like, sorry, I'm in Q4 of 2023 right now. Wow. In his headspace, he's 3 years. He goes, I live in 3 years ahead. He goes, that's what I love about my job, because I get to live in the future. He goes, I very rarely am dealing with anything that's today. Now, I mean, we are small businesses, and so we have to put out the fires, think about now money. But someone like Bezos, I mean, he said that Warren Buffett taught him that just think about 3 years from now. You got to be able to see what's around the corner. Otherwise, you're going to be in desperate times, right? And so for anybody who's listening, spend some time in the future. It's okay to start to plan. And real estate, in my opinion, is one of the easiest investments you can make. Nobody's saying that it's not going to be tough. There's not going to be obstacles along the way, but it is one of the easiest investments you can make, because passively you get to make money in it.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. The reason we like real estate so much, it's the best business in a box, because your customers are there every day.
Oh, I love
like
that.
You don't have to open the door.
Yeah.
The customer is living inside your business. So we tell everyone it has the most financing options. If you start your own business and you go to the bank and you have 0 customers, you know how hard it is to get a loan? But if you buy an investment property, banks are tripping over themselves to not only lend to you, but give you the lowest interest rate possible. Then your customer lives in the business. You have to attract the customer one time.
Right.
Then they live in your business for likely at least a year. Right? So it's a business in a box. It's a beautiful business. And then you can make new money from that business, because you can refinance it after a bit of time, go back to the bank and say, hey, I'd like to pull out some equity from this business. They will gladly do it. If you run a regular business and try to go get refinancing and try to prove to the business how much equity you have, it's so difficult.
Right.
Whereas real estate, you have all these things going for you. So it's the most beautiful thing for us to get into as business owners. It's perfect.
We have multiple investors who were going to, as way to increase their net worth, or they were going to buy a franchise. And then instead they took the funds and they have invested in properties. And they're like, man, it was just for us. They're like, we're really, and maybe not for everyone, but for those people, for what they were looking to use real estate for, they were very happy they did, because it doesn't take the day-to-day operations, and their returns for what they wanted were in the future anyways. They didn't need the short-term stuff.
Right.
So they're like, yeah, thank God we did this. It's worked out way better for us.
And we're not saying there's not problems to deal
Right.
with. There's
100%,
problems to deal with, and they
Yes.
always come the day before vacation. Like they're always the worst time. You know, there's always the worst time for the problems. There's a basement leak or something's happening. But those problems, Nick did it really well one time where he said, because we were cursing about this one property, and we're like, let's just sell this property. You know, when you're in that emotional
Yes.
state, like,
Yeah.
sell this piece of garbage.
It's not
property.
even worth
this
the
property
headache.
sucks.
No, this was actually this happened when I was sitting. Tom was on vacation, and it was a winter where we had like really, really cold winter where they had like frost cracks. We never had a problem in this basement. Snow all melts. There's water in the basement. I'm like, damn it! I'm there on a Sunday. I remember
I think I'm in Disney World or something with
I
the
turned on the
family.
barbecue.
And you just
to-
probably just say, damn it. You like,
No.
Yeah.
Tom,
Yeah.
where the heck is Tom?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no,
I
that's
just turned on
fine.
the barbecue and cracked a beer Sunday afternoon, a Sunday like evening. I'm like, oh, perfect. Get the call. I'm like, are you kidding me? So I go down there. I'm sitting on the floor on the step with the shop vac just stuck against the steps in the basement, and it's just filling up water. I would go upstairs and empty it out. I'm like, why the hell am I sitting here right now? He's in Disney World. I want just to have my beer,
He's
barbecue,
always
steak.
in Disney
Yeah,
World.
yeah, yeah. And I'm texting him,
He's
how's it
never
going over
here.
there? You
How's it
okay?
going
there? You
If
okay
you need
there?
anything, let me know. Just let me know.
But I did the math, so because I was sitting there for so long, I had to look at it somehow. I'm like, how many hours have I spent at this property? And that particular property, I don't know, there's whatever $500,000-$600,000 of equity in that property for us, right? Maybe at the time, maybe it was 400 years ago, or
Right.
whatever it is. And I did the calculation in my head about how many hours I spend there a year. I'm like, maybe it's 40, maybe it's 80 at the most, you know.
Max,
and
right?
I added it up, and then I did the division, and I'm like, holy crap, this is like me sitting here sucking up this water right now is like the most profitable flipping hour I can be using. I'm like, you know what? I'm okay sitting here.
You're right.
And it made a big difference when I looked at it like that. I'm like, who cares?
It's all perception, right?
Totally.
It's all
Yeah.
perspective.
It's the
Sorry, I
emotion.
should
You got to
say,
remove
yeah.
that damn emotion. It's the
100%.
biggest problem.
Yeah. And now we have property managers and stuff, so we're not
Right.
doing that stuff. And I think with condos, because I know you do a lot of condo
We do
stuff.
a lot of condos,
Condos
yeah.
are nice because condos, you typically don't have
Have that
those
many
issues,
problems,
right?
yeah.
We've done a lot of stuff, single family home on the outskirts of the GTA.
Yeah.
We do some condo stuff, but mostly it's single family homes. And with single family homes, you're going to have some roof stuff, some
Right.
foundation stuff to deal with. It's just on.
I myself, for example, I can't even put these shelves up behind me. Like I got a problem. Laura put all this stuff up
Yeah.
here. Like, so all, like
Don't let Jazz touch
Jazz
a tool.
with a hammer
It's a
is not the
disaster.
thing to do. So I'm a
Mind you,
very,
I didn't do a great job, so maybe don't let me touch a tool either
well,
at
yeah,
this
but
point.
I'm a very lazy investor in that
Yeah.
sense. I want to kind of set it and forget it. Not when it comes to actually dealing with my tenants. I truly believe that your tenants should be your customers and treat them as such. Like, what have you guys done or told your landlords, your investors, sorry, that how to take care of their tenants? Like, what's some little tips and hacks
always
that you've
Same
done, man?
same belief, man. They're
Okay.
they're your customers, and
Yeah.
treat them like your customers. Don't be that like it's like no different than if you walk into a store and you're trying to ask for help for something, and they go to their rules and regulations book and be like, well, look, bylaw this says I can't help you with this.
Yeah, yeah.
You're gonna be like, you're a jerk. What the hell's wrong with you?
Exactly.
You know, so like we treat them like customers. They're people trying to make
respect.
things work. You know what I mean? Like it's not everything is black and white. Like figure out how to make a solution work for everyone. And then something else that we do is I'll purposely different type of property, maybe more depending on the property, more for multi-units.
Okay.
Maybe not so much single family stuff or student properties. We will I over communicate everything.
Yeah.
Every little thing that is done to the property. Like if we get the common areas clean, like 2 walls painted, it's not a big deal. But you know what? Over communicate to them so we let them know everything that's happening. Here, guys, we've done this now. We've done this. Just so you know, there's this done because we take
Then
it
they
for
see
granted.
we respect the property, so then they respect it back.
And then when you say
Right?
over communicate, like I actually want to get into the nitty gritty of that for a second, Nick. You like are sending like a notice, just saying,
Yep.
hey guys, we're going to be painting the walls this weekend. And
I'll send it that we're doing it.
Got
Then
it.
I'll send it when it's done.
done,
Then
yeah.
I'll give them here's what happened. If there was a problem, I'll be like, oh man, the painter ran into some issues, but don't worry, it was taken care of. Here's what. So they know, they don't just take it for granted. Like, oh look, someone came by and painted this wall. Like we got to point those things out
Yes.
because everyone's busy in their lives. Just because you value something that you're doing, you can't assume that the other person does. You have to kind of point it out to them. No different to the customer analogy.
Right.
If you go into a store and someone points something out to you,
Yeah.
you realize it way more than if you might just walk by and not realize what's going on, right?
And so there's a great book. It's called Selling the Invisible from Harry Beckwith. And for our realtor and sales and advisors and consultants,
if you are putting up a for sale sign, if you're a realtor, just send a quick little note to a text message nowadays to the seller. Just put up the for sale sign, put up the lockbox. Because if the house sells in 12 hours or 2 hours, most of the time the seller's going to say, you probably weren't worth it.
You didn't do anything.
You did it too fast.
You didn't even earn your money.
You didn't even earn it. But as long as you start to make sure that you over communicate, at least they understand what you're doing, right? Yeah. To your point about the store, I always talk about like Shoppers Drug Mart. There's internal theft and external theft. Shoppers understands that it's going to happen, and they don't shut down the store when.
Did you work at Shoppers?
No, I never did.
Yeah,
I never
where's
did.
the coming from?
Shoppers? I don't know why. I use Shoppers.
What was the shoe theft like at Sporting Life? You
worked in shoes. I did. There was massive theft at Sporting Life.
I never thought of that for sure. Yeah.
Right. But they didn't shut down the store. They understood that it's going to happen. Just like a tenant, something's going to happen in their life, or a bat across the world is going to shut down the world or the economy. Like you gotta understand that you gotta keep a slush fund, a reserve fund. You got to understand that there is going to be vacancies going into it if you know it. And to your point earlier, Tom, like let's talk about things that can go wrong and how can we mitigate them, right? And so if anyone who's listening, just understand things can happen, things will happen. Hope for the best, plan for the worst, and understand that millions upon millions of people have gone through it in the past.
Oh yeah, short-term paranoid, long-term optimistic. We tell everybody that.
I like that.
Short-term, you're paranoid in real estate. Always. How's the bank screwing me? What's happening with some property manager? You're always short-term paranoid. But if you're in the industry long enough, or you hold on to a property long enough, you're likely going to make money. Right, so you're long term. You're always optimistic.
I don't think somebody who's held onto their property for 20 years or something didn't make money. Right?
I've never met that person. We've only met people. We've only met people who've made money.
And then there's like the 1-2 people who didn't do super well, but they're shouting it out so loud that everyone thinks that that's the case. And it's like for every one of those, you have 6 million other opportunities where people made amazing money.
Yeah,
I think the GTA every 10 years it doubles, right?
Totally.
Like on average.
And
so
for the people who have bad stories, it typically comes from tenant situations. I find. And back to Nick's point, and Jazz, what you're asking, Nick, when landlords don't treat tenants with respect, then tenants begin to try to take advantage of the landlord. And when you dig into their negative story, it usually comes because they weren't treating the tenant well.
Yes.
The tenant stops paying rent. And then on top of that, the landlord doesn't follow the process we have here in Ontario. And if you follow the process we have here in Ontario, it works really well. Like for 99% of the cases, it works really well. So when you dig into the negative stories, it's usually like they brought that onto themselves.
For sure.
Well, I think it's funny. The pandemic brought out really what's in most people, right? Like you get to see the real side of people, and we were always telling our landlords, like, look, like just be human with these people. Like maybe they did lose their jobs. Maybe yes, some are trying to take advantage of the situation, but most of these people probably weren't. And like you have to determine which side of that line do you want to be on. How do you want to be known and recognized in your life on how you treated people, and your tenants are included in that.
We're already seeing it at the landlord tenant board. They're taking that into account. If you were a landlord early on and you showed that you tried to kind of come to agreement with them and make some arrangements, and everyone tried to work together, they will look much more favorable on the landlord versus if you were just someone that just shunned them and said, well, no tough, you owe me $2,000 and that's it. It's $2,000, not a penny less. Otherwise I'm fine. I don't give a damn what's going on in your life. So so
you kind of get rewarded in the end anyway, right?
You guys are starting, you guys have a course and a school around investing in real estate. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because I personally don't know exactly what your setup is all around that. And then please be open to discussing how somebody can find out more information.
Go ahead. I mean,
neither of us like to talk about it too much, but it is the core. Yeah, we run a membership. So the way it works is we run a membership. The membership is $50 a month, and for that, we offer classes and a newsletter and a monthly audio that's kind of like a podcast, but exclusively for members. Okay. So it might be our paralegal talking about Bill 184, our accountants come on, stuff that is just for our membership, and then we publish that every month to them.
Okay.
And then that membership we work with those members to buy properties. So we call the membership the Rockstar Inner Circle. Anyone listening can go check it out, rockstarinnercircle.com. That's how we grew the business. We started with education, and then those people in that membership become customers of ours to go buy properties.
So $50 a month, and it gives, and when pre-COVID, was there live classes.
So we have, I think we give about 15 or 16 different classes that cover anything from,
student rentals,
pre-construction stuff, student properties, rental, like all the different strategies and how property management, that type of stuff. And those were all in person. They've now gone virtual. We want them back in person. We'll continue to do them virtually here and there.
Yeah.
But geez, man. But anyways, they've
Don't you
gone
guys
virtual.
miss it?
Oh,
we do.
Yeah.
Like just having you guys here, like no joke, man. Like it just feels so much better.
Totally.
I'm sure when you're like we were on stages before the lockdown
we had like
as well.
how many? We had 10 shows planned for the remainder of the year.
For the remainder
we were
of the-
flying
oh,
all across the country.
Yeah,
And,
and
yeah.
It just like I mean the virtual we did a 12-hour real estate.
We were just
marathon.
talking about that. We can't believe you did that.
Yeah, it
That's
was really
insane.
cool. Had a lot of fun doing it. But yeah, there was maybe 12 of us in the room in the virtual arena, rented out a hotel and kind of designed a little virtual arena. Kind of Tony
10, there were
Robbins.
10 of us.
It was 10? Sorry, Laura. Sorry. Okay. Yes, COVID. Yes, it was 10 of us. But I just miss that. I miss seeing people's eyes and that energy in the room.
We're doing
right?
one. We're doing one in October. So
Live?
we do.
Are you-
So we do 3 events a year. Typically, they were about 700-800 people.
Okay.
Right. 4 members and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They were live. Obviously, the one in May wasn't. It was just kind of a slap together type, more traditional webinar. But this one, we're trying. We're doing a little bit more, setting up a kind of little virtual studio,
Love
so
it.
we can see the people. Do it a little bit. But it's the same thing. Like, look, we're gonna do it. We're looking forward to it. It's still fun. We do a lot of we get into economic stuff and all this other stuff, and the members enjoy it, but at the same time, I'm like, man, it's going to be in a room looking at a screen. It's
Not
just,
as good.
it's not
yeah.
to say it's tough, man.
One of our
It's
clients was
tougher
just
for sure.
telling me that they did a joint
talking to
venture
a
deal.
TV, like a screen. Sorry.
Yeah, someone did a joint venture deal because they met people at the events over and over. They began to get to know each other,
It's
trust
the
each other.
community that gets built.
Yeah, and they were doing deals, and he was just asking me, he's like, "Hey, when are we bringing it back?" And I'm like, "You know what?
We're not allowed.
I don't know.
Go ask the
we
Prime
can't.
Minister.
No,
Right?
unless we all just do a secret one. We rent out the Rogers Center, and let's just go undercover the Rogers Center.
Oh, there'll
You
be-
did
there'll be
not
vid-
hear that on this
No,
podcast.
sorry.
There'll be videos on Instagram for sure.
no,
That's
that'd be
5
awesome.
videos coming in.
Yeah.
Areas. What areas do you guys cover?
All around the GTA. You want to explain it?
No, you just keep talking.
You were talking a
I
lot.
told you,
You
remember
were
by
talking
the
a
end.
lot.
By the end,
He's
I'm just
definitely
like,
spoken
brother
more than
in love, I
me.
can
No,
feel
he's
it.
spoken more than me on this podcast for
we
sure.
We're gonna have to do like a word count after.
Well,
this.
hold on, we
Spoke more.
transcribe the whole podcast.
We do.
We're
We'll
gonna
figure
send
it
it to
out.
these
We'll let you guys
We'll
know
let
this
you know
vote.
who
Now you're
talks
gonna shut up
more.
for sure, just so I can keep saying that.
Yeah, he wants to win this now. So the areas we invest in are pretty much all around Toronto.
Okay.
So east side all through Durham, like Oshawa. We'll go up to Peterborough, Clarington, Barrie, Orillia a little bit, Kitchener, Cambridge, Waterloo, Hamilton, Stony Creek area in Hamilton, Niagara, St. Catharines, Welland, Brantford. Now we're doing a lot in London with all the student rentals by
Love it.
Western.
Yeah.
Are you going to name every city in Ontario?
Well, I mean, that's kind of
Except for the GTA. I love that you.
yeah,
we really
we
appreciate
do
you guys
some
leaving
in
that
the
little-
core because some of our clients are like, look, I'm going to buy downtown whether you want me to or not. So help us buy a pre-construction
crap. I'm
condo.
buying
So we
it in
do some
Toronto.
pre-construction
Well, I happen
condo.
to know some good Toronto.
Yeah, and now that we know you guys, we can build a relationship that way. But that's how we've come into Toronto a little bit because
Got it.
some of our clients have said, look,
But it's definitely a much smaller amount, much
Yeah,
smaller
yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
And how do you go about finding properties? Is it like MLS stuff, and which I
Yeah.
believe that you can find amazing deals on
Yeah.
MLS. I mean,
Yeah.
contrary to what a lot of people say, like, oh, you need them off market. I don't believe in that. You get some good off market deals, but
It's
not
the
all
largest
of them.
inventory, right? It's the
Exactly.
largest inventory. So I mean, look, if you're looking for the needle in the haystack as an investor, and you're always looking for that one deal, like we were talking about before, the best deal here and there.
Yeah.
Maybe you can find it off market, but how quickly can you move?
Yeah.
Like I'd rather find like an okay deal, get it up and running and generating cash for me, and then move on to the next one. And then by
That's that ready, fire, aim,
Yeah,
right? Like just
totally.
get started.
Yeah. Well, I
Let
might-
it work for you.
And I
Yes.
might have 5 properties while the person looking for their perfect investment has one, and 3 years have passed, so I've built up all this equity. So
Yeah, you've done better in the 3 years than they were hoping, whatever they were hoping to win on just finding that needle
Yeah, and
in a
with your
haystack.
knowledge, if you can pay more for a property than the competition and still make it cash flow or work to whatever numbers you need it to work for yourself, I can outbid the competition and still make it a very good property for myself. So for example, if we're going to buy a property in Hamilton, prices are going crazy in Hamilton, right? Have been for like 6-7 years.
Right.
But if we know how to turn a single family home into, let's say, a legal duplex, well, we can outbid the competition and still make hundreds and hundreds of dollars in cash flow every month.
Because you're seeing that future use.
We're
of the
seeing,
property.
just to your point, we're seeing the future use of the property. We have a more sophisticated view on the property than our competition. We can pay a higher price and still win. So the MLS serves us great. It's
sure.
the biggest inventory, and we can make it work.
We do off-market deals, but they're a minority. It just goes to like the percentage of things that are off-market versus the percentage that are on MLS.
Yeah.
The deals are split the same way as well, right? We go, large majority of them are on MLS because it's the inventory. It's no different than if you're shopping for a car. You're going to go to a dealership with 3 cars.
Yeah.
You're going to go to a dealership with 300.
100%. I mean, I come from the car business 15, 16, 17 years ago, and it's exactly that.
Where were you selling?
Acras.
Oh, yeah?
Oh,
all
you said
right.
it.
I was there at
We had
Acura.
2.
TSX. Mine was a stick TSX. Yeah, it was rare. It was
TSX.
rare.
You had
It
the
was a
exact
stick
same
TSX.
one twice.
I was a
can tell
lease
you around,
buster. It was a
after
lease buster.
2004. Because
Yeah, it would have
that-
been. I think it was like
100%
2006 or
Yeah.
7,
Yeah, because that
and it
came
was
out in
Lease
04.
Busters.
Oh,
I don't know if
yeah.
Lease Busters are still
Yeah,
around.
I don't know if they
but I got
are
this
still.
great deal. I told my wife, we got to go downtown right now. I got to get this thing.
I love that car. I love that car.
Because I had a Honda Civic. I'm like, we're getting into real estate.
And
I
you
need
had
one.
to one-up your brother.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's always about one upping him. Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm not going to put the boys on the spot yet. I'm going to start with you. The one tip.
Really, really to treat your tenants like customers. Me, myself, when I was a tenant, my landlord was amazing to me and I gave them zero headache. I think over the course of 6 years, I had one thing I needed to replace. And so I think in the long term, we spoke a lot too about patience and long term and thinking about your future, is put the time and the effort up front, establish a relationship and over communicate. Is that one tip or like 6? I don't know.
Yeah, it's okay. You do it all the time. Our listeners are used to it.
Yeah.
But as always, you bring more value than you were supposed to. So
Why,
thank you
thank
for
you.
that. I am gonna say elders. I'm gonna respect our elders
Oh.
first. And I'm gonna go to Tom. No shot at you, my man. But your one tip for our listeners and viewers today.
I think because seeing what you guys are doing is awesome here, and we meet a lot of people who also want to do exactly what you're doing. So to me, it's always about what would your 90-year-old self tell yourself today about what you should be doing. And that way you're going to have no regrets. I think I read it in a book, The Difference Between Millionaires and the Middle Class. I think that was a tip. I can't remember where I first read that. But what would your 90-year-old self tell you? If your 90-year-old self would tell you quit the job or buy the piece of real estate or do whatever you're thinking of doing, then go ahead and do it. But don't get to 90 and have the regret. So stop thinking about today.
Are you saying that because you're getting close to 90?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Just
'cause
you
the beard's
started, you started to think about it.
I'm 40.
I just met you for the first time today, but I feel like we have that kind of rapport.
No, that's totally fine. It's totally fine. Yeah, yeah. Jeez, time's flying.
I love
I'm
it.
gonna get you back for that one.
It's good. You just got flustered. Didn't even know what to say.
Yeah.
No, 'cause
My
I
bad,
started
my
to-
bad.
You know what? Because I'm turning 48 in January. I'm like 50 is my next big one. It's a couple years ago.
You
That's
don't look it though.
old,
Like all
man. That's
joking aside,
old.
brother, you don't look it. You look
Jeez. Yeah,
very
thank you.
healthy.
Thank you.
Really.
For me, I'll go to the beginner investor, and if it's someone that hasn't invested and looking to invest, a lot of people are waiting for the perfect time, and there is no the stars don't align, the clouds don't part, and the sun come out and say today is the day. Everything is perfect. Go buy your investment property. It's like for anyone that has kids, it's like having kids. There is no ideal time for that kid to come. It's just a little bit of pandemonium no matter when it hits. So if you're looking at doing it, just don't wait for that, man. Just you got to put a stake in the ground and make the move.
I think the viewers and listeners, you guys get the pattern. You guys are seeing and hearing something that's like all of our guests, I speak about it, Laura, you speak about it. At some point you got to take action, right? And so I want to thank both of you for your time, for driving. I know you guys don't leave the Oakville area often. And,
He doesn't. I
he
leave.
doesn't.
I go. I'm in
Well,
the
he's
city
coming up on
regularly.
50.
That's right.
You don't leave
That's
Oakville.
right.
You can use a handicap
Big party
parking spot
downtown.
soon.
Big party.
Really appreciate you guys. My tip today to the viewers and listeners is that iron will always sharpen iron. And I say that because most people listening and watching right now, especially in our industry, would say that Rockstar Real Estate and REC would be competitors, or well, why are you guys sharing so many ideas and tips with each other? And I say to you that understand that the pie is big enough. And if we run out of pie, we'll just bake more pies and start to have the mindset of collaboration, I should say, sorry. Because what we can do together, we can get a lot more done together than we can individually. And so for that, again, I thank you guys for sharing all your tips, all your advice, all your strategies. And I cannot wait to do so much more with you two and like your whole organization. I'm very excited about what REC and Rockstar Real Estate can do together, and I thank you too for that.
Oh, thank you,
Awesome.
man. And you were the one, you reached out and you're living by your words. You know what I mean? So it's kind of the proof is in the pudding. So we appreciate the invite. And I think we feel the same way too. We're looking forward to seeing what comes next.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Laura.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys, my man. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Are we like quasi
We're-
rock stars now?
Yeah,
Oh,
totally.
you're a rock
Yeah,
star.
yeah. Honorary.
I
Yeah.
appreciate you guys. Thanks again. And to the listeners, please leave us a comment. Let us know how we did. Take care.
This has been the REC Experience Podcast with Jazz Takhar, an REC Canada production.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching and listening. Please take a second right now to subscribe and follow us on whatever podcast platform you're watching or listening. It means the world to me. Thank you.